I picked two issues that have to do with kashrut. I was trying to think of something really like practical, something that, I don't know, we would think about or it would resonate with us, during the week coming up. So I thought of two ways that we see that people are really trying to figure out, what do these mitzvot mean to us, and what should I think of them as I'm fulfilling them? And, like, we're all looking for meaning and not just, I, sir, as if it's just a game where God is enjoying, bossing us around like an older sibling. So there are two examples that are fun to explore. I think they're just interesting, and there's a lot of different ways to read things. Like, it's really stimulating and engaging. So that's what I gave you. I figured since everybody either just downloads their source sheet or prints it, it doesn't really matter how many pages I put in there. So I put everything in there. I guess, Aliza, if we were the ones printing it, you might have told me I have to stick to a certain number of pages. We would have to make the font smaller or whatever. But here I could just go on and on and on. So yes, it's 5 pages of things, but it doesn't take that long to go through everything. So let me call up the source sheet and we'll go through it and I'll show you what I mean. The first thing I wanted to talk about is something that I think is interesting because it's a piece of kashrut. It's just that we don't deal with it day to day. Okay, the second example we're going to do is mamash, which animals we can eat, which animals we can't eat. Okay, so that's sort of classic kosher. What's kosher, what's not. But here I want to talk about this mitzvah, which is not to eat the gira nashet, not to eat that sinew in the thigh. And that most of us are not really dealing with day to day because the butcher takes care of it. In the olden days, I imagine our great-great-grandmothers in the backyard shechting animals, taking out the sinew, the sciatic nerve, and really thinking more about this mitzvah. But what I love about this mitzvah is the crazy, various, diverse spectrum of opinions about why we cannot eat this sciatic nerve. And it's a great example of how everyone's just trying to wrap their heads around all of these different mitzvot. This is mitzvah number 3 in the Torah. The first one being Pru Revu. When God talks to Adam and Chava, that's considered mitzvah number 1. The second mitzvah is considered Abraham's Brit Milah, even though we do talk about it again later in Parshat Tazria, which is interesting. Brit Milah to Abraham is in his life. Brit Milah as something for Am Yisrael really comes up later. And then this is mitzvah number 3, Shelo le'echol gira nashet. So I just want to show you first as if we were just learning the Sefer HaChinuch, okay? And then I'm going to step back and show you more so we could see as a foil. We could just sort of appreciate what the Sefer HaChinuch is saying in light of other commentaries, okay? But if we were just, reading through the Sefer HaChinuch as we're doing, looking for interesting pit stops along the way to sort of talk out ideas, so we would come to mitzvah number 3. And it says in Parshat Vayishlach Yaakov, right? Usually he starts each Parsha just telling us how many mitzvot there are. So in this week's Parsha, Parshat Vayishlach Yaakov, that's what he's calling the Parsha, by the first 2 words of the Parsha. Vayishlach Yaakov yesh ba mitzvat lo taseh achat, vehi azhara, it's a warning, which means a lo taseh, a don't, a prohibition. He azharat gid sinew hanasheh, of that area, this sinew, the sciatic nerve, we would call it. Shene'emar in Bereshit Perek Lamed Bet Pasuk Lamed Gimel, which of course we'll look at in a minute. Al Kain, therefore, lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael ad gira nashet. V'hai lo yochlu, and this, hai in Aramaic, this prohibition, lo yochlu, quote, right? V'hai lo yochlu. I'll put it in quotes. And these words, lo yochlu, lo ne'emar al derech sipur. It's not just a narrative, which we'll see someone else says. It's not just a narrative. This is, why Bnei Yisrael never ate, as if it's describing some minhag, some, custom that we've developed. No, klomar mipnei she'ira davar zeh ba'av nimna'im habanim mila'achol oto agid, as if it's just that because something happened to the father, the children stopped eating it. No, ela azharat Hashem yitbarach shelo yochluhu. But rather it is a prohibition from God. This is where God actually steps in after the narrative of Yaakov, which we'll look at again in 1 second, after that narrative, God steps in and says, therefore, guys, you're not eating this gid hanasheh. Not really lo yochlu, but we would read it as like lo tochlu, do not eat. Okay, now, obviously, that's already question number one. Why not say lo tochlu then, So you could see already like, oh, this is interesting. And it is kind of after a story, and it is sounding kind of narrative. So before we read exactly what he says about the reason, let's just take a look at the psukim here for a second again. Remember, this is that crazy story where Yaakov is on his way to meet Esav. And by Yivater Yaakov Levado, Yaakov is walking with all of his children. And somehow, really weirdly, he ends up alone. Do you remember Chachamim? The Midrash says he went backwards to go find the little jugs that he dropped along the way, which teaches us that you have to be chas, mamun. You really have to take care of even physical property, things that God gives you. Everything has value. We don't just throw away things. A penny drops, you pick it up. So he went back after pachim ktanim. He went back for these little jugs that had fallen out, or he left. But either way, here he is all alone. Vayivater Yaakov levado. Vayeyavek ish imo adalo teshachar. Somebody wrestles with him. Okay, that's a fun Hebrew word. Vayeyavek, like avak, dust. They roll around on the floor, kicking up dust. Vayeyavek ish imo adalo teshachar. So odd. So odd. The Rambam actually says this was a dream. This was not like a real thing that if we would have been there, we would have seen. This was a dream, and even Yaakov's limping after the Rambam says happens to us sometimes. You have a dream about somebody's chasing you. You wake up, your heart is pumping. Right? Like that, it's like psychosomatic kind of stuff. So it's it feels like mythic. Okay, Vayar kilo yacholo. He sees that he can't get him. He can't attack him. He can't win. We don't know who he is yet. We're not sure what's going on here, but somebody's not winning. Vayiga b'kaf yirecho. He touches him in the yarech, in the thigh. Vateka kaf yarech Yaakov. They have koimo. And now Yaakov gets somehow locked. Something gets stuck. Something gets hurt. Pulls a something. Okay, so now you see it's this ish that's attacking Yaakov. Vayomer shalcheni ki Allah shachar. And the angel says, let me go. Vayomer lo shalechacha ki emberechtani. No, not until you bless me. So he says, fine, what's your name? Yaakov. No, lo Yaakov ye yamer shimcha ki em Yisrael ki sarita em Elokim im anashim etuchal. It's this gorgeous name that God, if this is a godly figure, godly shaliach, God is naming Yaakov a new name, Yisrael. Again, for the Rambam, it would be a kind of nivu'ah in his sleep. It is some vision and a message from God that your name is no longer Yaakov, rather Yisrael, which has to do with Kisarita em Elokim. You waged war, you fought battle with God somehow with this fighting match. Vatuchal, and you prevailed, fine. Anyway, at the end of the story, it's morning, and he walks off in Pasuk Lamed Bet, V'hu Tzoleya. He's limping. Al Kain. Here comes our pasuk. Therefore, lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael ad gira nasheh, asher al kaf hayarech. Don't eat this part of the thigh where Yaakov got hurt. One more time. Ki naga b'kaf yarech Yaakov b'gira nasheh, because he touched him there. He injured him there. Okay, we got it. Why do you think this ends up being, as you'll see in a minute? What's open to you in terms of interpretation? Why isn't it obvious? Okay, I get it. Yaakov got hurt there, so we don't eat it. What's left for everybody to talk about? As you see on your page, there are so many mifarshim to talk about. What do you see there that's left for us to discuss? We don't eat it because he got injured. What's your problem?
Can I say?
Yeah, please. Anybody see why we get stuck for a second? It's open now. It's crazy.
Well, I think it says in the pasuk, his name is Yisrael, and B'nai Yisrael don't eat it. And right. I think, what happened to great-great-grandpa? Because of that, we're careful, because this is our family tradition.
Okay, and what would you say, fine, and it totally connects to Bnei Israel, and therefore we take this with us. What are we taking with us? Like, if a kid says to you, but I don't get it, just because grandpa got hurt, we don't eat it.
Grandpa won over an angel. Hey, that's a big
So
deal.
therefore, I can't eat this piece of animal. How would you connect the dots? What would you say? Why does it make sense to you?
It makes no sense because people. So, I mean, it's animals, it's people. Why would you equate the two?
Yeah.
There is something missing. Like, it's a very fun pasuk because I feel like an idiot, but I missed something. It makes it sound like, okay, so guys, we're not going to do it. And you're like, oh, okay. Can I just ask, like, why? I totally don't understand.
God told us.
It makes it sound, God makes it sound like it's so obvious. Al kain da lo yochlu bnei Yisrael giran Hashem ki naga b'kaf yerach Yaakov b'giran Hashem. Oh, so that's the only boo-boo one of our forefathers ever had.
Well, there
And
must
because
be
of a
something
boo-boo,
special about Gidan Hashem.
I guess.
What is
Like,
special?
But also,
something
he's a human being. We don't eat human beings to begin with.
I know. What's even the connection? What? How did you go from a human being injured to me not eating an animal? The whole thing is so weird. And why do I care? I'm so sorry he got hurt. I really am. But forevermore, I'm not eating a piece of an animal to what? Remember? To prove something, to symbolize something, to hold on to something, to fight something. Like, you see how, even though what I love about this mitzvah is that how many mitzvot in the Torah do we mamish have a clear-cut ki or al kain, right? Like, al kain, therefore, like Shabbos, al kain beirach Hashem et Yom HaShabbat. Like, there I get it. Hashem created the world. Hashem stopped on what we call the seventh day. Al kain beirach Hashem. Therefore, God blessed this day and sanctified it, and so must we. I totally get that al kain. But you jumped here. It sounds like such a non sequitur. Because he got hurt, all came, obviously. So the whole thing becomes this like interesting discussion, even though ironically, I just got an answer, a clear explanation for a mitzvah. I'm so excited. The Torah gave it to me. And yet, for some reason, totally not clear. Totally not clear. So therefore, we have to start asking ourselves, what? So I'll start with our, text, which is the Sefer HaChinuch. If you are reading the Sefer HaChinuch, he sees it as Mishor Shei Mitzvazo. How about this? He thinks, obviously, Kedei, Shetiya Remez, L'Yisrael, we're going to have a hint here. We're going to have a symbol. Sha'af al pi she'yisbelu tzarot rabot begaluyot, miyad amim umiyad b'nei Esav. Even though we are going to, Bnei Israel will suffer many, many trials and tribulations in the different exiles at the hands of all the different nations, including Esav, which Chazal take to end up being the Romans. Sheyiyu bituchim. It's certain shelo yovdu that they won't be destroyed. Like in Shema, Avadata me'rami ala aretz, you're going to go into exile. But here it's obviously that they will never be mamish destroyed l'gamre. They will prevail, their children, their name. Someone will always come and save the day, like in Shoftim, Sefer Shoftim. We talked a lot about mitzvot that help us remember things, that help us stay focused on our values, on our beliefs. This is one of those mitzvot. When I take out the Giran Hashem after I've shechted the animal, which now I've lost that fun, because now the butcher does it and I just buy it kosher. But in the olden days, I was doing it in my backyard. And when I sat and took it out, I would sit there and remember this. Yes, Yaakov was engaged in a crazy battle. But who won in the end? Yaakov. We're going to be okay. Ya'amdu be'emunatam u'b'tzidkatam la'olam. We will always remain strong in our faith. V'remezehu l'fisha u'tomalach shenilcham im Yaakov Avinu sheba be'kabbalah shayasaro shel Esav. This guy who's battling with Yaakov, we have a Kabbalah, not Kabbalah, not Zohar, a Torah Sheba'al Peh. We have a tradition it's been handed down that is the angel of Esav, right? Like every nation has an angel, and that's the one that represents Esav / Romans / our enemies. Ratza la'akro li'Yaakov min ha'olam, hu v'zaro v'lo yachol lo. Quote from the pasuk. He wanted to uproot Yaakov. He wanted to take Yaakov down. V'tziaro b'nigiat hayerech. And fine, he heard him. He got him by hitting him in the thigh. V'chein zera Esav. Yes, mitzaer lezera Yaakov. Sure, they hurt us. They give us a lot of pain. Ulevasof tihyela yeshu'a mehem. But in the end, this is a little story that's a mashal. This is a paradigm. This is a little, we can learn from this. It's like a microcosm. That in the end, we'll always have salvation, kemoshe matzinu be'av, as we found in our forefather. This is like Maseh Avot, siman labanim, shezarcha lo hashemesh, right? Even metaphorically, the sun rose, l'rapoto, to heal him, and no shemin atzar, kain, yizrach lanu hashemesh al-mashiach, v'yirpa'enu mitzarenu, v'yigalenu, amen, mer v'amenu. Look at that, right? It's like, wow, that is a crazy, huge moment. God said, you see this, guys? This is what I'm talking about. You, Yaakov's children, will never get beaten. Keep this as a mitzvah. I want you guys never eating the Gid Hanasheh. Every week when you go shecht your animals to eat for the week, I want this idea to ring true in your heads. You will never go down, you will never go down, you will never go down. Now, I always think to myself, okay, if that's what you are thinking about, I love thinking about what made the Baal, the author of the Sefer HaChinuch, what made him think about this, right? It's like a Rorschach. These mitzvot that we're all analyzing, when I look around a class and I say, why do you think we have this? You all know that it says more about us and what we come up with. Like, oh, that's so interesting, really? You think it's to give you strength that in the exiles, when it gets really hard, we won't ever be destroyed? Why are you thinking that? Do you need that reassurance, Mr. Author of the Sefer HaChinuch? Right? I guess so. Because that's what comes to his mind. When he reads that story, it's so beautiful. When he reads that story, that's what he sees. I don't know if that would have come to me because I don't feel that that's on the tip of my head is like the nations and the exile. I'm not thinking like that anymore. But it's a beautiful reason, What do you think about it? Anybody dafka like it or have a bone to pick with him,
I just kind of felt like the same way that you said, the Al Kain for Shabbos, it's Zecher of the Briat Olam. This is the Zecher, the Briat of a nation. So obviously there has to be an ot. There has to be something that you could latch onto. This is the creation of Am Yisrael. It's a creation. The same way the creation of the world has Shabbos as an ot. The Gid Hanasheh is the oath for the creation of a nation. So that
why is it creation of a nation here? Why are you saying that like it's a creation of a nation? What? How?
This is the change of the name. This is
okay. Fine. I'm just making sure. Okay. Because he already has all his children born. That's not the problem, right? You're not talking. You just
no. It's the switch.
Yeah, the switch. Correct.
The switch is now, and so this is what happened at that point when he was named. This is what made us a nation. This is what created us as a nation.
Let's mark
the creation. Let's mark it with what happened at that event. Matan Torah, we got the Luchot HaBrit. Shabbat, we got because of creation. Becoming a nation, we got the Gid Hanasheh. It's obvious, although it's not obvious at all.
Okay, litzayin. We would say litzayin kansha mashu karat. This is a moment to mark. Okay, Tova Dominich, I saw you have your raised hand in the little text lab. Tova, want to say? Are you muted? Did we lose her?
Well, in the meantime.
Okay, Tova, are you there? Did Tova Dominich leave? Okay, she raised her hand. That's funny.
Okay, so I'll just say that we're still suffering from Esav today. We're suffering.
I know, you're right.
Look at America right at this very moment.
Totally right.
Things against the Jews and against their shops. And we're still suffering, and we still have to remember this.
Yeah, you're totally right. I agree that it's a beautiful sentiment. The only thing that's always like interesting to me is would I have thought of it? Where does my head go when I read Al Kain Lo Yochlu B'nei Esav Gid Hanasheh? And I'm thinking, wait, what? Why al-kain? Therefore, who cares? Therefore, we would never eat the Gida Nasha now. Really? Like, I really need to have this moment go down in history forever? It's like so interesting. So he says, yes.
Well, Edom is going to be the last. I understand that Edom is the last Golos. And
Okay.
Mashiach.
Okay.
So that's really it.
Okay. It's like so nice. What I love is the fun of it to me is when you do this. You go here like I gave you. Look at all these different mefarshim. Everyone on Chumash tries to connect. What is happening? So like the Rashbam, Liz, Zichron, Givurato Shel Yaakov, and Nes, Shasalo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shalom Meit. It's like every other miracle that we commemorate. Hanukkah, Yetziat Mitzrayim, what? Yaakov almost died. And he did it. It's a miracle. We're going to remember the victory of Yaakov and the Nes. Now, I don't know. I hear you. Again, really? Like, the Rashbam's answer to me just doesn't feel like enough. Every Nes that happens, Yosef didn't die in the bore. We don't have a mitzvah about that. You know? I don't know. Avram wasn't killed by Avimelech when he wanted Sarah. Well, that's a Nes. Like, it's funny. It's like, to the Rashbam, it's just miraculous, and we need to mark it. Okay, I love the Sfornos. I think I got into this Rorschach idea because when the Sforno, Rav Ovadia Sforno, writes his explanation, I literally think something happened to him in 4th grade that he never got over. He says, Kidei sheyihyeh hahezek asher hora b'negia kaf hayarech hezek b'davar bilti nechshav atzleinu. Let the damage that was done in this thigh be damage that now is in something that we don't care about. We throw out the Gida Nasha to show, so what? You hurt us in the thigh? Who cares? We throw out that piece. We hate that piece. Right? It's so interesting. What? I feel like that's that thing when someone comes over to you in, 4th grade and grabs your stickers, and then you say, I don't care. That's the stupidest one. I don't even like that sticker. That's like what it sounds like. We're not eating that to show that you didn't hurt us where it matters. That's garbage to us.
I saw it more as a kapara. You know how people today, the Sephardim say kapara? I was drinking a cup of coffee and the coffee broke. Let it be on the broken cup and not be on the person to get damaged. So we're saying a kapara on the Gida Nasha, so no harm will come to us. I think that's what he means.
Why is the ending bidavar bilti nechshav? It's not considered important to us.
Because it's not you personally. It's something that you're removing in lieu of.
Okay, you're saying visa, like it's hurting me there, not essence of me.
That's right.
Fine.
That's right.
Okay, fine. Now the chizkuni I love, totally different. Ba'adinu, this is great. Sheyesh liknos, fine, patch. Vela'anosh b'nei Yisrael, me'achilat Gida Nasha. You're being punished. You may not eat that piece. Throw it out. And why is that a fine? Knas. Why is that a monetary, financial patch? Do you understand? If I have to throw it out, why is that a monetary fine? Right? I spent money. I pay $100 for that animal, and now I have to go throw out a piece. That's wasting money. So that's a ticket. That's a fine. It's a la'anosh. This is a punishment, guys. You cannot eat every part of the animal you bought. Since he nichu et avihem holech yichidi kedichtiv vayivader Yaakov levado, because they left him alone. Shame on them. Horrible kibbur aveim. And for that you will always pay. Ve'hein hayu giborim. You guys are young, strapping teenage boys. How do you leave your father alone? They didn't do accompaniment. They didn't take him. They didn't hold his hands and help him cross over the river. And then he was injured because of them. Ulekach liva Yaakov at Yosef. And that's why actually Yaakov is so sensitive to this and escorted Yosef on his way out to visit his brothers. Because Yaakov is very sensitive, because when you don't walk with people, you end up with situations like we'll read later. The Torah talks about this later in Eglah Rufa, right? You find a body between two cities. How did this person get murdered? The city that he's closest to, the corpse. That city has to take ownership over the violence that happened right outside, that nobody was with this person. Who lets a person leave your city without making sure he gets on his way safely? Like, this seems to be something the Torah is very sensitive about, I would say. And the Chizkuni says, you see it here. This is a patch. Now, it's so funny to me that we're getting, look, davar acher, or al kain sheyachol Yaakov lamod neged hamalach lo yochlu bnei Yisrael gid hanashel liolem lezikaron. The Tiferet, ki aviam nilcham im hamalach. I love it. You're talking about literally one way to look at it as Shachayanu v'kivanu v'gianu lazman hazeh, that Yaakov won an angel. We have to commemorate this like the miracle of Hanukkah. Or, shame on you, don't ever let this happen again, and to remember how badly this day went. You are now going to have this fine where you're going to have to throw out a piece of your meat that you bought. Well, which one is it? Is it a celebration? Or is it like a moment of avelut about our shortcomings? Isn't that funny? It's like, I don't know. And I imagine you could see like the Chizkuni throwing out in his backyard the Gid Hanash after he shechts the animal, and the Rashbam throwing it out. And the Rashbam in his backyard is throwing it out and saying Baruch Hashem for Nisim and throwing it out. And the Chizkuni's throwing it out and doing like Al Chait. Al Chait, sometimes we don't do good in Kibbut Avim. And it's like, it's so interesting to me. It's a great example of how we will be keeping these mitzvot, and it's the deed that matters. All of Am Yisrael throw out the Gid Hanashem. You want to know why? I don't know. But doesn't it say it in the Torah? Sort of. But for some reason, it's so hard to like lefaneach, to just solve that. I don't know what the pasuk means. So you get all these things. Now, Radak does exactly what the Sefer HaChinuch didn't want to do. He says this is absolutely storytelling. Al kain lo yochlu. Therefore, Bnei Yisrael never ate it again. Bnei Yaakov asruhu al atzman. Number 4. The children of Yaakov forbid it to themselves. They took on this minhag. L'chvod aviem shelakabo. They could never eat that piece of the animal again after daddy got hurt there. It just felt disrespectful. Vehem sivu livneihem. Okay, like another example we have, whatever, parentheses. V'nesar lahem ulivneihem ulivnei b'neihem adolam. It kept going. It was literally just like a Jewish minhag. In our family, we don't eat it because our great-great-grandfather got hurt there, and out of respect for his injury, we never want to have enjoyment, I guess. We never want to eat it and use it in celebration or something. Food is fun and yummy and, positive. And then, katavo Moshe Rabbeinu b'Torah. Al pi Hashem, of course. Then Moshe's turn comes to write the Torah. And he puts it in the Torah, of course, because Hashem said, "Aval ferish razal besinai nitztavu v'katava b'mkomo lo diatam shenesar bavuro." But according to Chazal, another way to see it is that no, Hashem commanded it at Sinai, and it's just written here in Breshit because that's what it's about. It's about this story. It's a law that God wants us to keep, and it is about this story for whatever reason you like that maybe we suggested before. But according to the first thing that Radak said, it's a minhag that developed, and then Hashem had 612 mitzvot ki'ilu, and before they closed, Hashem goes, wait, Moshe, wait, one more. That thing that you guys have been doing as a minhag, put it in there. Let it be number 613. It's great. Put it in there. So Moshe put it in. Al kain lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael gid hanashem. It's so cool. Like, we have no idea where this mitzvah comes from, because I think the writing of it is odd. The al kain lo yochlu instead of command word, and the fact that it says ara yom hazeh, that is so weird. Like, who's writing that? Is that Moshe? What is that? You can understand that gives biblical critics a lot of food. I mean, that's a trigger for them. Who's writing ara yom hazeh? Who's writing that? Who's talking? So this pasuk is odd. It's very odd. I'll just close this first topic of Gid Hanashe with the Kli Yakar, who says something way more like Kabbalistic and symbolic, just to start it. Okay, Matzinu leChazal, says, we find that Chazal often say, Shedvarim amukim, shehasagatam kashe, nimshelu legidin. Often Chazal will use the term gid as a metaphor for things that we can't understand. They're tough, like a sinew is tough. It's hard to snap. V'hasaga nikreit b'lashon achila. And then when we say we understand it, we say we ate the gid. So remez b'mitzvah zo lidoro limnoa miYisrael hachakira b'nistarot. This is about not trying to crack certain like deep secrets of Torah. He goes into the Manah Hashem on the next line, creates Hada'at. There are things we're not supposed to understand. And Yaakov Avinu went over some line and Hashem was reminding him, don't go there. And then Yaakov like got himself, together. And that's why it says later that he came to Shechem. Shalem refers to Yaakov, not to the city Shalem, but that Yaakov was Shalem, like he did some sort of tshuva. All this like very, very symbolic stuff. Okay? Again, kind of like Kabbalistic, more esoteric. It's all over the place in terms of this mitzvah. And the Sefer HaChinuch's approach, just to go back to the book we're studying, the Sefer HaChinuch's approach is, again, it's a remez. Yaakov Avinu is a semel. It's a metaphor for us. It's a paradigm for all the troubles we're going to have. It is absolutely not just a story. You could tell he's trying to say he doesn't like what the Radak said about how the Torah is just telling us the minhag that developed. No, it's not a story. It's a mitzvah that we may not eat it. And he says it's a zikaron tamid. Just like Shabbos is an oath for us to remember something, and tefillin and mezuzah and saying Shema, it's all about remembering. And Birkat HaMazon we talked about, remembering not kochiva utzem yadi. Like this is another one. This is to remember that we will prevail. Okay? So interesting. Okay? So that's part one. And about like foods. Okay, anybody just want to sort of like close up Gid Hanashe? Anybody want to say another idea, by the way? If you were writing your commentary, do any of you have an idea that like you thought of when you were looking at those psukim? Tova, you're back. You wanted to say something, Tova. No, Tova Dominic, want to say something?
1 second. Okay, I'm on mute. Yeah, so I just, I don't have like a fully clear idea, but just like something like the fact that at that event he was called Yisrael and then everything, B'nai Yisrael, Am Yisrael, so somehow it's like that's such a pivotal moment for us that we had to like do something to remember it by.
Okay, so that's the moment. That's why I think that's the only thing I can think of for like the Rashbam, when the Rashbam says, and this is to remember l'zichron gevurato. I guess we'd have to come up with something like what you're saying or before, right? But I think, Tanya, you were saying, whoever was talking about like the Yisrael name and the moment, and what's so special about this day otherwise? Like people tripped all the time. People spoke to God in different ways all the time. I don't know. So you'd have to really say, no, this is huge because this is the moment Yisrael as a name, as an as an image. I don't know. Something's up here. Like you're right. This day got spotlit in some way. Okay, so you could keep thinking about it. It's like a fun thing to think about. You can,
Because if you bother to take it out, in a lot of places they don't. But if you bother to take it out, you end up with filet mignon.
Okay, so explain to me, why don't I ever in a butcher shop, those of you who have shopped for more years than I have, where is this Gid Hanashe that I never ever see it, right? Like, have you ever bought meat that you've had to deal with this?
Something in the rump. I think that's why rump roast isn't kosher or something like that.
So has anybody here ever had to take out? Or like
if you remove the gid, then you can use the meat. It's just very difficult to remove. It's not
interesting.
A process, and it costs a lot of money. So the kosher butchers don't want to bother with it because and it's not worth it for them financially.
Okay, that's so interesting. So none of us. Okay, so none of us have ever dealt with it, right? Like we all buy kosher meat. It doesn't have the Gid Hanashe and zehu, right? Like we don't do this.
Actually, what I learned was that in Chutz La'aretz, they can sell, they don't even deal with the hindquarters because they can give it to the non-Jewish people. They can sell it to the non-Jewish butchers. But in Israel, they do because who are we going to give it to? Who are they going to pass it on to sell it to? So I
And
heard
why
that
not?
in
Do
Israel,
Arabs not eat that either?
they do trade-bring in Israel. That's what I heard.
Because financially, it's expensive to do. It's
Okay.
it takes
Yeah, but it's less
effort.
expensive than throwing out the whole hind quarter of the animal.
Okay, so then they charge a lot of money for that piece of meat. That's all.
So
My father-in-law actually used to do it.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's a great. Meaning
And it is tricky to do.
he'd buy meat and he'd kosher it with the gid himself.
No, I think he actually might have had a job at a butcher shop or something to do it. I'm not sure.
Okay, it's really neat. Like I really don't know much about it practically. I just love the source of it and this part. You know what I mean? Like the payrush part of it, I think is so interesting in terms of a tam of a mitzvah. Like why do we do the mitzvah we do? I would think Gid Anasha is the one we don't have to talk about because the pasuk tells us why. And then you find out there's like 8 different ideas about that one pasuk. What? Like, I don't know. I just think it's so ironic that one of the few places where the Torah tells me why I'm doing something, I still don't understand. You know, it's great. It's like so funny. Okay. So let's go on to obviously just like basic kashrut for a second. Go back to like the bigger picture. Shalo lechol behema v'chayat tame'ah. Right? Let's talk about that. I want to talk about the kosher food. So the source for this is one of the sources where we talk about kosher food in the Torah is Parshat Shmini. Okay, Vayikra Perek Yud Aleph. So the pasuk I'm choosing to look it up, right? I want to look up kashrut. I go to Shmini. I find it in the Sefer HaChinuch. It's mitzvah kuf nun dalid 154. Shalo lecho behema v'chaya tameya shene'emar et ze lo tochlu. You're not allowed to eat this thing. Mimalei agera mimyafrisei parsa. Even though it might chew its cud or have split hooves like the gamal, the chazir, because they do one sign but not the other, and all of that. Okay, great. We know that. Kosher food, not kosher food. Mishor she'ah mitzvah. So what does the Sefer HaChinuch say about that kind of kashrut? Curious. Masha ketavnu be'azharat treifa b'sefer mishpatim. He says this often. He tells you to go look somewhere else. I already talked about this in the lo ta'aseh of don't eat a treifa. We'll go look at what a treifa is technically. In Parshat Mishpatim. Kiyodeya Elokim, but he does give you a little bit here, and then we'll go look more in depth in a minute. Kiyodeya Elokim. כי כל המאכלות שהרחיק מעמו, אשר בחר יש בהם נזקים מצויים לגופים. All of the foods that Hashem distanced from the nation he chose, the Jews, they all are damaging in some way to the body. Asher hein kelim lenefashot, and the bodies are the vessels for the nefesh. Lefol bahem, they act in our bodies. Our bodies are the kli. Ulitalot al yedei masayim atovim, and then the nefesh is affected and rises up in its development, in its holiness, and its whatever. Right, like the nefesh is going through a whole journey in this world during our years here. Our body is the vehicle that's carrying it through, and you should know that these foods that God tells us not to eat are damaging to those bodies, which are the vehicle for the nefesh. Al kain hirchikanu, right, mehem laman yifalu nefashot ulatan, so that the nefesh can work. God doesn't want us eating stuff that will be bad for us. You know why you can't smoke? Because it ruins your lungs. Okay, well, you also can't eat pig because it's bad for your body. Come on, guys. Okay. So I go to look, I want to see more, right? So I go down and I look up the one he's talking about. So the one he's talking about is the mitzvah of Shelo Lechol Treifa, which is 73, mitzvah 73 in Parshat Mishpatim. Now, just to remind you, technically, Shelo Lechol Mina Treifa, what does it mean? Ubasar basadeh treifa lo tochelu ubashmaut. What it really means, aniglebika tuvzeu leziranu abeima shetarfa. When you say the word treifa, it's a very technical word. It doesn't mean something's not kosher, it's treif. A treifa is an animal that was mauled, hurt, injured by another animal, so it's not shechted. It's injured, and then v'shetarfa b'inyan shinitu yalamut, and it's hurt in a way where now it's on its decline towards death. And again, Kabbalah, which he means Torah Shabbal Peh, Misayat B'kachu tells us more, helps us understand. In Torah Shabbal Peh and Masachet Chulin, really it's Shenitrafa B'chdei Shetamut L'Sha'ah O L'Zman Karov B'Shvil HaTerafahu, and that Zman Hu is Shana Achat. It has to do with a certain time. If it's hurt in a way where it's now going to die within the year, then it's called a treifa, and you cannot eat it, period. Done. Not even if you shecht it. Whereas if it's hurt in a way that I guess, isn't going to kill it, fine, then it's not a treifa. And later on, when you want to shecht it, you can shecht it and eat it. Okay, that's a treifa, the trof. I'm reminded of the pasuk when Yosef's coat was brought back to Yaakov, right, all bloodied. Tarof, Toraf, Yosef. He was mauled. He was ripped apart by a gedi. That's what Yaakov thinks. So imagine an animal attacking another animal, leaving it wounded, then I find it and it's the easiest to hunt because now I just shecht it and take it. No, that's a treifa. Okay, this happens to be the mitzvah where he goes on and on and on. I took out the parts that would best exemplify what he's saying. But here's where the Sefer HaChinuch really talks about kashrut. Okay, because this is the first example in the Torah of a forbidden food, chutz migira nashe, which had its own story there, so it was easier to decode or got decoded in another way. But here's the first time we see don't eat something that you might say to me that's like such a chuk. Why does God care whether I eat that or that? If it's a kosher animal or whatever, even if here we're not talking about kosher animals, we're just talking about the idea that something is allowed or not allowed. Okay. So let's look at basically how the Sefer HaChinuch approaches kashrut. Mishorshei mitzvah. Lefi, this is what he said before, right? He hinted at this whole theory he has. Lefi shaguf kli lenefesh, ubo taseh pu'ulata, v'zulato lo tishlam malachta la'olam. Without it, without the body, there's no way to do the work we have to do, as we all know. If I'm sick, I can't do everything I want to do. Right? I can't. If my body doesn't work, I'm not able to do achnasat rachim. I'm not able, if I have a migraine, I'm not able to learn Torah. I'm not able to, I can't do my mitzvot. I can't serve God. I can't reflect God in this world if my body's not working. That's my vehicle. Nimtza ki aguf bein yadeha kemo atzavat biyad nafach. Asher imo yotzi kli l'maseyu. Now let's talk about the guy who's blowing, the guy who makes vessels and he's making tongs. We always talk about the tongs, and now I'm making something. So the goof for my neshama are my tongs. That's how I'm gonna make things. That's my vessel. Ube'emet ki biyot atzavat chazak. The better the tongs are, the better I can do my work and do my artistry. So and then I can't do good kelim, which we're talking about doing good ma'asim. My neshama has to be able to do good ma'asim, so my body has to be good, so I can actually do it with my hands and my eyes and my voice and my body, etc., etc. So, bihiyot baguf, shum hefseid. If I have in my body anything, me'eze inyan, in any way, a broken arm, right, a strap, sore throat, inyan sheyiyatit batel pu'ulot hasechal kafiyot hefseid, then for sure I'm going to lose out on some kind of pu'ulah. V'alkein here chikatnu toratenu ashlema. Mikol davar hago rainbow hefseid. Don't you understand? The Torah is never going to let us eat something or do something that's going to harm my body, or else I can't perform the maasim I have to perform. My nefesh, my neshama has a job to do, and I need my body to be good. V'yal haderech hazeh lefi hapshat ne'amar shebalanu ha'isor batorah b'chol ma'achalot ha'asurot. And I want to say here that I think this is the issue whenever we see a food that is forbidden. B'chol ma'achalot ha'asurot. Whenever we're talking about foods that are forbidden. And if you don't understand something, and not to the wisdom of the medicine, like you're going to tell me, but I don't get it. Why is a camel not healthy for me? I don't get it. Well, you know what? I'll teach my land. Okay, you don't get it. Don't start questioning them. Because the doctor, capital D, the doctor that we have faith in, he's the one who told us. And I think he's smarter than any expert doctor you're going to find me. And how foolish is the person who thinks that this thing can't damage unless I understand it. Right? I'm sorry. There's no proof. I don't know what you're talking about. There hasn't been a study. It can't be. This is stupid. Stop. You're a fool. Come on, niskal. I'm sorry. We don't understand the damage that's done. We don't know. We weren't told. You know why? You know why the Torah doesn't tell us? Because then some guy gets up who thinks he's Mr., foodie, some doctor, some GI, and they'll be so smart alecky and say, Nezek ploni sha'amra haTorah sheyesh bedavar ploni enenu. I'm sorry, that damage that the Torah says comes from that food isn't true. Ki'im b'makom ploni. Okay, maybe on that island it's true. Maybe in that city it's true. Shetivo Cain, where the nature of it is this way. Obi ish ploni. Okay, maybe in somebody who's older, maybe in somebody who has diabetes, okay, because their nature is that way, or maybe, and then some foolish person will get all seduced and follow that guy. That's why the Torah didn't tell us the reason. To help us not stumble in this. If God had told us what the damage is exactly in eating pig or in eating a certain animal, then I would outsmart it. I would find a guy who disproved it. I would find a guy who would limit it and say that's only in kids. That's only if you live in hot, climates. So we're not getting into that. We're not talking about it. I don't need you guys outsmarting me. Done. And we know he says, I'm sorry, this is one that I know. It's so interesting. We know from different, doctors that the meat, the flesh of a treifa, of an animal that's been attacked and mauled a little, absolutely does something bad in our body. Because it leads to infection and disease in that animal. And then we eat that. And don't start asking me questions and challenging me about an animal that was hurt 2 seconds ago. So the infection never started. The injury never had any ramifications. I shechted it right away. No. Everything has a beginning. Everything has a minute, a second, a beginning, a little bit. And if you admit to me, if you're going to admit that there's some kind of damage from that treifa, well then titchayev laodot ki berega harishon hutcha lahafseid. Then you have to admit it started somewhere. Started in the first second. Right? It's just elashu mu'at batchala. It's just a little. So we're going to say no. Even 5 minutes after the injury, no. Even if you don't understand how the injury works, no. Even if you do understand how the injury works, no. That's it. It's so, I love it. Remember, he's talking to his son. Okay, he's talking to his son. This book is for his son. And it's that talk about it kind of sounds like a chok, but he is saying, I know it's about health. I know it's about health. This is not good for us. But don't start asking questions. Please don't. Okay, God knows better. Trust the doctor with a capital D. Okay, now what do you think, people think about this reason? What have you always thought about this reason? That it's not good for our health to eat the animals that the Torah has said don't eat. What's always been your feeling when you guys are keeping Hilchot Kashrut, or you're explaining it to a non-Jew or to a Baal Tshuva? Do you know what I mean? How do you, I don't know, how do you find
we're supposed to say that we really would like to eat it, but we're commanded not to. We don't say, oh, it's disgusting and it's not healthy.
Okay, good. So number one, we think about that midrash, right? Efshi, I would love it, but I can't. And that's interesting, by the way. Are you saying that as a question on this? Like, if that's Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, I think, who says that. If he's saying that, if he's saying Efshi, I don't think he thinks this. Is that what you're saying? Like, that doesn't sound like this? Because that
it
sounds
may
like,
very well be that that's a reason, but that's not the main reason we hold by.
fine, but I would say that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, something tells me he doesn't think it's health, or else he wouldn't say to me, I should feel like I want to eat it, but I can't because God said so.
No, it just may be an added thing. Also, in addition,
Right, so maybe this is like, sure, maybe sometimes it's not healthy, but like, really? You think everything we can't eat isn't healthy?
Because, they give their reason. Well, pork has trichinosis, but if you cook it well enough, then you don't. So then you start giving all kinds of reasons. That's not why we don't eat it.
Okay. Does anybody ever think like of other reasons why? Do you guys ever have other ideas about kashrut that you've heard that you like better?
We're commanded. I don't know.
I know, it's like very funny. I'll just show you another one.
Well,
I know that like in New York, there are people who don't keep kosher, but they buy kosher meat because it's known to be cleaner and better,
Healthier.
and healthier. They don't, and they're not.
They say that like at the baseball games, non-Jews buy the kosher hot dogs, right? Non-Jews buy kosher hot dogs at baseball games. Yep, yummier. They say it's yummier.
Better quality and that and whatever.
also, there's the issue of like not eating an animal or a bird that preys on other animals, that you ingest the kind of violence that this animal had.
Okay, good. So that is a different thing, right? That's a different idea. That's the idea of it's somehow not connected to mamish, like the chemistry of it, but there's something else going on. Okay, so that idea, the Ramban says it about certain birds. He also, though, says this idea about health. The Ramban dabbles in both. The Rambam talks about health. I wanted to show you it expressed well in the Abarbanel. This other idea the Abarbanel has when he's talking in Parshat Shmini, when he's talking in the Kashrut section of Torah and Vayikra, he asks the question, Lama ne'esru ma'achalot ha'elu, right? He always has questions and answers. So we ask the question we're all talking about now. Why are certain foods forbidden? Shenizkaru b'parsha b'behema u'ba'ovu b'dagim u'b'shvatzim ha'em mipnei b'riut haguf? Really? It's about the health? But he has a question on that. Eineinu ara'ot kol ha'umot ha'ochlim otam. I'm sorry, I see the non-Jews. Shminim, beruim, they look great. They're fat, meaning healthy, right? They look very healthy. They look very, the calories are good. Ein ayef, ve'ein koshel. No one's tired. No one's stumbling. Like, what are you talking about? Okay? I put my exclamation point too early. Ve'ein koshel b'hem. Boom. Okay, exclamation point. Gam yesh ba'alei chayim acherim arsiyim b'tiv'am. Shem yoter mazikim u'mimitim b'achilatam. Shelo ishira Torah l'achilatam. There are other animals, that are extremely dangerous. Literally, they have poisons in them. They could bite you. I don't know. There's a lot of animals that aren't great for you. And it's not like if I go through other animals that have a lot of cholesterol, that have other things in them. And I don't know, they're not all forbidden. So I don't buy that. And he instead goes to talk about Shelo ba haTorah elokit lerapot et hagufot. This is not a medical journal. Come on. Ulevakesh briutam. It's not seeking for your health. Ela levakesh briuta nefesh. The Torah is spiritual. The Torah is talking about your soul, and to heal its ills, its sicknesses, the nefesh's sicknesses. V'lachein asura ha'ma'achalim lefi shayu mita'avim u'meshukatzim et ha'nefesh ha'teora ha'maskelet u'molidot b'mezeg ha'enoshi atimut v'kilkul ha'tavot basotam b'adam roa. All this stuff that has to do with the nefesh. You're putting the nefesh off kilter. You're getting me to have a certain tum'ah. That's why he says it's about tum'ah and tahara. David HaMelech says, Baruch kachachal tikach mimeni leif tahor barali elokim. That's why Hashem says the pasuk as a tum'ah. Al tishaktu et nafshoteichem. B'chol hasheretz hashoretz. V'lo titam'u b'hem. Don't you see the psukim? They're all about tum'ah and tahara. They're called ma'achalot temeot and ma'achalot teorot. Lo kar'am at the end. Lo kar'am makatuv mazikim, velo machliim. The Torah doesn't say they're damaging, they make you sick. Ki'im teme'im. It's a tum'ah. That's metaphysical. The to'eva, abomination. That's not health. That's not science. That shows us lo rocha yata misura mipata nefesh velo mipata gufu b'ryuto. Don't you see we're talking about mibchinata nefesh? We're not using words that are science. We're not using words that are physical. We're talking about tuma, gross, toeva, nef. Come on. So it's so interesting that the Barbanel is like, absolutely not. No way I buy it. It's not about physical health. Something else is going on here, more along the lines of what you said. The Ramban says about birds of prey. You will ingest their midot. Or who knows what? Do we understand anything about metaphysics? And who knows? But again, kind of a chok, like I don't get it, but I know it has to do with nefesh. Versus the other side, which is saying, I don't get it, but I know it has to do with the body. Okay? And I wanted to say that I've always, personally, again, like, I've always seen that when you have these psukim, one is in Vayikra that we've been talking about, but another's in Devarim here, Perek Yudal. In Vayikra and in Devarim Parshat Re'eh, we talk about kashrut again. I just want to show you that there's other words there that make me think there's also something else going on, which I've always found meaningful, besides maybe the body, besides maybe the soul. Do you see how, look at how we're talking about it. Okay, I brought you the end, like v'chol ha'sherets, and you can't eat certain insects, fine, and creepy crawlers. Okay, Mem Gimel, al tishaktsu et nafshotechem. That's the language the Abarbanel was talking about. Your nefesh. Don't like make your nefesh gross. Don't disgust your nefesh. V'lo titam ubaem v'lo nitmetem bam. There's going to be a tum'ah. Okay, but now look. Ki ani Hashem Elokechem. I'm Hashem your God. V'hit kadishtem. You need to be sanctified. V'hitem kiddoshim ki kadoshani. You need to be sanctified because I'm sanctified. Where, what's that sanctification thing? Or memhei, ki ani Hashem hama'ala etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elokim v'item kiddoshim ki kadoshani. Okay. Zotorah, this is the law. This is the law of all the animals. Lahavdil, to separate. Okay, there's an issue of, I like the words kedusha, havdalah, again in Devarim. Banim atam l'Hashem Elokechem. You are God's children. Pasuk bet, ki am kadosh ata l'Hashem Elokecha, ubecha bachar Hashem liot lo la'am segula. You are chosen mikol ha'amim lo tochel kol to'eva zot ha'beima sho tochelu. Why is it coming in the context of I've chosen you? And at the end, again, ki am kadosh ata l'Hashem Elokecha lo tevashel gedi b'chalev imo. I feel like the other theme in kashrut, based on the psukim, that I'm not seeing so much in the mefarshim that I see in these rishonim, is the idea of separation. And I wonder if it's because, again, when I think about the things I think about, and I can only be a product of my experiences. I'm a Jew who knows what it means to be a nation. I'm a Jew who knows what it means to have power, to have autonomy, to have an army, to be on the news as the Jewish nation. I wonder if my sense of Avdil Etcha Min Ha'amim is very much on the forefront of my mind in the way that a Jew living in exile 1,000 years ago would never think about. Do you know what I mean? I have a certain nationalism that I think is always sort of like fills me with a pride and with a strength. And then I read these things about and you're going to be an Or LaGoyim. And I'm like, yes, the Jewish army has to be ethical. The Jewish nation has to be innovative. We have to make a Kiddush Hashem. Something about these words, for some reason, really resonate. And it makes me think that maybe it goes back to the chok of you're different. I need to separate you. The idea of you can't eat what non-Jews eat. I'm making random distinctions. You don't eat that, you don't eat that, you don't eat that. Because you're not like them. You're not like them. I need you to be different. The same way we're not allowed to, cut certain pieces of the facial hair. Can't do that. You look different. So you want to shave it with a shaver? That's like scissors? Fine. Can't do a razor, right? And you have you have certain holidays. You have different holidays than the rest of the world. I don't know. Something about difference to me, even in the realm of food, always also to me has something to do with it. Do you know what I mean? Like we just don't eat what you guys eat because look, we're different. Just another way that we're different. God has to separate us in all ways, all areas of our life. So I don't know, like, take it or leave it. It feels to me the way we can't ever eat with non-Jews. I can never really sit down with a non-Jew at a restaurant. It can only be kosher food. If he wants to eat what I eat, I can never eat what he eats. Bishul Akum, Chazal came along and added all sorts of prohibitions about Bishul Akum. Non-Jew can't cook for you. Yayin Nesach, can't have wine of a non-Jew. There's a lot of separations with non-Jews. So like maybe this is one of them. Maybe this is just one of them. Okay? Anybody ever think of that? Like, anybody want to say if they like it, don't like it, support it, have a proof against it? No, think about it. I think it's important to look at the context in the psukim. Like when you see kashrut, you see a lot of words. It's very confusing. You see word tameh, you see word ba'avdiatchem. It's really interesting. Lisa, I want to say something, please.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with it.
Because it smacks of the racism kind of thing?
Yep. It's like, oh, we can't be with you. I can't eat with you. I can't integrate too much with you. It's like,
Yep.
Whoa, why so special? Why to be different?
That's
Right.
the idea, to avoid
And that's the idea. God said, remember, I'm sorry, God, I know you are, God said we have to come in, kill all the nations here, set up shop, and be an Or LaGoyim, period. Like, that's the way it was supposed to be. We were absolutely not supposed to be integrated. Take it or leave it. But like, we absolutely were not supposed to be integrated. It's fascinating. You're right.
Oh,
This is old Rabbi Yehuda Levi stuff. Remember the Kuzari?
Growing up, it wasn't food so much, but tzniut, the way we dressed. We always knew that we were different, and everybody recognized that you dress differently from everyone else, and therefore, maybe that. I mean, I only found out years later that they said, "Oh, yeah, well, everybody knew you were a Yavna girl." Like right. What?
No, like, even the Ibn Ezra, I think
that was clear.
The Ibn Ezra, I think, right on Tzitzit says it's a uniform of a Jew. Like, it's like the kippah, like stand out. I think it's so interesting because Jews so don't want to stand out. But we are absolutely supposed to stand out and be people who reflect God's will and thereby are God's PR. We are hasbara for a God in the world. So it's absolutely not about integrating. It's about not intermarrying, 100%. So like, you're right. Some people find that offensive and other people are like, what are you talking about? That's shot in the Torah. That's exactly the whole point. No intermarrying, boundaries up, get rid of them, set up shop, done. Like, you absolutely have a job to do. Stay focused and stay different, or else you're all the same. And then I don't have a Kohen. Mamlechet Kohanim. The same way the Kohanim have separate rules. They cannot become Tameh. They cannot do that. They have to do that. Kohanim have different rules, and we, Am Yisrael, have different rules vis-a-vis the nations around the world. Mamlechet Kohanim. Very interesting. All right. Enough to think about as you're eating this week.